Hello and welcome to the chillax zone here. We're here for part 3 of me reading The Gift No Money Could Buy by Lei Kunoichi, or Le, I don't know. Lee. I've said it 3 different times. And yeah, but whatever. So, we're here and relaxing. Just kind of hanging out. So this will probably be the last chapter of me reading this because there's only a little bit left. I could probably finish it all in this video. So yeah, we're going to start with chapter 9. And it gets a little serious, you could say. Well, not really serious, but like some shit happens. So at the end of the last one, there's a few words, or a few, like, I don't know, there's a couple sentences about like at like Gray's house, and then like he opens the door and Natsu's there, and yeah. So here's chapter 9. Some different things happening. Anyways, Lucy's POV. Lucy-chan, what are you doing here this late? An exhausted Juvia asked me as she slumped down onto the sofa. She was wiped dark circles under her eyes. Has she not been sleeping well? Is it because of my plan? I need to talk to you about something important, I said sternly, my arms crossed as I angrily thought about what that idiot did. I felt my blood fizzle in frustration. About what? Wait. Juvia's eyes narrowed as she glanced between the angry me and the nervous Natsu. Natsu wouldn't look us in the eyes as he pouted on the floor. Juvia bent down next to him, forcing him to face her. I felt my jaw clench how close their faces were. No, Lucy, they're just friends. Juvia looked him in the eyes. Natsu-san, what did you do? She said seriously, taking a pause between each word for effect. I felt a nervous bead of sweat trickle down the side of my head as I sighed and looked at the ground. I didn't do nothing, I mumbled, not daring to look at Lucy. Don't act so innocent, Lucy snarled. Why don't you tell her where you were tonight, Natsu, Natsu-san, Juvia arched an eyebrow. I didn't go anywhere, I tried to defend, but Lucy quickly interjected. I saw him leaving Gray's house. Natsu-san, is that true? Water Girl asked, her eyes widening. I grimaced and slowly nodded my head, averting her gaze. Tell Juvia exactly what happened, Juvia said in a serious tone. I sighed. Well, it all started around 7 o'clock. Flashback, Gray's house at 7 p.m. Gray's POV. Natsu? I asked, completely surprised for my unusual visitor. Me and Flamebrand have always been rivals and never really got along that well, but we are still tight. In fact, he probably knows me better than anyone. So when Natsu comes to my house at night, uninvited, with a serious look on his face, I knew something was up. Can we, gesturing towards the door, he was implying that he'd want to take the conversation inside. Yeah, sure, I mumbled, stepping inside. Natsu walked past me and collapsed on my white couch. If you came here to invade my house, Pyro, I warned while glaring at him. He sighed, opening his eyes. Chill, princess. I just came to talk, he replied nonchalantly. I crossed my arms, not realizing that my shirt was off somewhere. About what? I asked, arching my eyebrow. He sat up on the couch, leaning forward so his elbows rested on his thighs. His hands rubbed his face. He looked me in the eyes. Why were you there today? He asked suspiciously. I have no idea what you're talking about, I replied nervously. Is he talking about the date? I think you do know, he said, his eyebrows raising a you seriously gonna play dumb face. I sighed. That is a lot. I was at a lot of places today, Flame-brained, I replied innocently, narrowing my eyes at him. Yeah, well, although this may be true, I know for a fact that you were eavesdropping on someone else's business, he rose an accusing eyebrow. More like two people's love life, to be exact. Natsu's POV. He looked away just as his jaw clenched. He seemed nervous, with a slight blush was apparent on his cheeks. Well, maybe I was, but how would you know that? Gray's POV. For the first time since he arrived, Pyro's cool demeanor wavered. His eyes widened and a nervous bead of sweat dotted his forehead. Got ya. Unless you were there too, I accused back, my arms uncrossing and pointing a finger at him. He stood up, running a hand through his messy salmon hair. He swiped my finger away as he nervously said, okay, you caught me, but don't tell Lucy I told you. He pleaded, down on his knees in a begging manner. Wait, so she was there too? I exclaimed. Who else was watching? Juvia and Leon. Not to instantly cringe at my statement. I never said that, he stuttered. his hand waving in front of his face in a whatever motion. He seemed even more nervous than before, if that was even possible. Really? I said sarcastically, rolling my eyes and raising an eyebrow. It wasn't born yesterday, Flame Brain. Even someone as oblivious as you could tell you're lying, I stated irritably. Natsu was now bowing down to me, kissing my bare toe. Please don't tell Lucy, please. Oh, merciful Ice Queen, have pity on my soul. He begged and pleaded, trying anything he can to get me to not tell Lucy. Well, you did say please. Wait, did you call me Ice Queen? I exclaimed angrily, finding ironic that I was described as merciful. He jumped back, and my sudden outburst and his eyes filled with horror, probably imagining what Lucy would do to him. Okay, fine, I won't tell, I said, sitting on the couch. Natsu let out a long breath in relief as he sat next to me. Well, anyways, that's not what I came here to talk about, Natsu said, his face once again taking its serious expression. So what did you want to talk about? I asked, a hint of nervousness exposed in my voice. Natsu's POV. I want to know why you were there today, I asked, seriously, looking him in the eyes. I could sense the uneasiness coming off him in waves. He looked away, his mouth turning down in a nervous frown. Well, you see, I was hungry, and they happened to be where I get my ice cream. He rambled in innocence. The fact that he was trying to avoid and dodge how he's feeling right now is really ticking me off. Stop giving me that bullcrap, Gray, I yelled angrily. Gray looked stunned at first, but quickly recovered, his eyes narrowing at me. Why can't you just admit that you are jealous? Why can't you admit that you are scared that she's finally moving on? Well, why can't you admit that you care? Because even someone as oblivious as me can see that you do. I stammered, my temper bursting the more I moved my mouth. You pretend that those feelings aren't there, that you could care less if she existed. Okay, couldn't care less if she existed. I see him wince, giving me the motivation to continue. But you know that without her, life wouldn't be the same. I felt a stab in my heart, remembering how I felt when I left Lucy. I couldn't get her out of my head, and no matter what I did to push the sad feelings away, she would always be the first thing I thought of when I woke up in the morning, always reminding me that I left her. The guilt killed me. You know that deep down you want to make her smile, to see her happy, to hear her laugh. You know she means the world to you, no matter how hard your mind tries to tell you your heart otherwise. Why can't you just admit that you love her? I finally felt my temper simmer down as I finished with that question. I let that question hang there, an intense silence following. Gray stared at the ground, his hair covering his eyes. Get out, he growled. After everything I just said, he replies with that. What? I asked, stunned. I said, get out, he exclaimed angrily, his face still hidden from view. I see, I muttered, standing up. I'll let myself out. I walked over to the door and opened it. I glanced back in to see a tear escape from his hidden eyes, rolling down his cheek. Good luck, Gray, I mumbled as I pulled the door closed behind me. End of flashback, now at Juvia's house, 9:15 p.m. Lucy's POV. Wow, Natsu, I honestly don't know if I should be mad with you or not. I never knew you were so poetic. I awed my cheeks with a splash of pink on them. Natsu's hand rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. Yeah, I'm really sorry, Luz, for confessing that we were watching him, but I honestly didn't plan on saying anything about it. I'm also sorry, Juvia, for talking to Gray about something that is none of my business. I just couldn't stand seeing you suffer over the guilt I have experienced before, he explained apologetically. I smile. I guess he's less oblivious than I thought. I forgive you, Natsu. You had great intentions, I reply, a warm grin on my face. Natsu's POV. My heart skips a beat at Lucy's smile. I smile too. I look over at Juvia. Her face is looking down, hair covering her face. Juvia, you okay? I asked softly, my voice laced with concern. She looks up at me, tears running down her face as she wore a grateful grin. Oh, Natsu-san, she sobbed, her grin widening ever more. I could never ask for a better friend, but both of you. Thank you for looking out for Juvia. I stuck my arms out, gesturing for a hug. Lucy bent down next to me, her hand on my shoulder as she smiled at me. I smiled back as Juvia threw herself into my arms, and both me and Luce hugged her tight. Oh, man. God damn it. Chapter 10. It's going to continue on. Juvia's POV. I felt different waking up this morning, and as if the sky reflected my mood, the sun shone brightly in a cloudless sky. I smiled, jumping out of bed. The carnival is today. Lucy Chan's plan will finally be complete after tonight, I sigh. Then Juvie can go back to loyally awaiting Gray-sama. I slipped on my usual attire, not really wanting to impress anyone today. After all, there was no need. After Natsu-san talked to Gray-sama last night, I felt kind of enlightened, relieved. Gray-sama was obviously hiding something from Natsu-san, hiding something he felt. Juvie's hoping what he felt was realization, realizing that he loves Juvia. I put on my boots and groaned loudly when I saw my messy hair. I grabbed my brush and sat before my mirror, stroking out the tangles of my hair. I felt excited about the carnival as I imagined a romantic Ferris wheel ride with Gray-sama. Then I remembered about Leon-san. Ugh, I groaned. I completely forgot about him. Juvie doesn't want to spend another day with Leon-san. He's too clingy. I stopped brushing my hair. I froze as I looked in the mirror. Is that how Gray-sama feels around Juvia? Time skip at the guild. Urza's POV. I sat at a table with Lucy and Natsu, enjoying a slice of strawberry cake. They were recalling the events of yesterday at Leon and Juvia's date. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would they tell me all the juicy details about something that is none of my business? Well, when it comes to my friends keeping secrets, I get very persistent in trying to figure them out. Most of the time resorting to violence and threatening of their lives. So after a swing to the back of Natsu's head, the two of them quickly told me about the date, Gray's unexpected appearance, and then now telling me about Natsu's chat with him last night. So then I kind of told him that he needs to stop ignoring his heart and accept his love for her. Natsu spoke proudly, giving me a bragging grin. Well, that was very responsible of you, Natsu. I'm impressed, although I don't like the fact that you stuck yourself into their business. Gray should have probably figured it out by himself, you know. I replied, scooping another spoonful of cake into my mouth. He scratched the back of his head. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to speed up the process. Juvia seemed to be very stressed about betraying that pervy popsicle. Speaking of Juvia, where is she? Juvia asked, looking around the guild. Now, to think of it, I haven't seen Gray yet either. I replied. I heard a soft giggle from behind me. Mira Jane stood there, a devious smile on her face. Maybe they're making babies sooner than I thought. She fantasized innocently. I rolled my eyes. Mira! Lucy scolded, her eyes widened in denial. Natsu seemed confused. Mira giggled again as she picked up my empty plate. I'm sure it'll be here soon, but for now we have a festival to prepare for, I announced, standing on my chair. Everyone in the room groaned as they slouched further in their chairs. Narrator's POV, of course. Urza still stood on the chair, dark aura emanating off of her as she gave the death glare to her fellow guild members. All of them shrunk back in fear. I said we have a festival to prepare for, she repeated menacingly. Everyone instantly erupted into nervous cheers as they stood up and gathered around Urza. Mira came to Urza's side as they began to divvy up the work among the mages. Meanwhile, a blue-haired water mage was leaving her home at Fairy Hills. Juvia's POV. I left the building of Fairy Hills, closing the main door softly behind me. I love the view outside of Fairy Hills. There was a very small courtyard surrounding the main housing building. There was a black fence surrounding the perimeter and a large shady tree just outside the fence. And the hill slopes down leading to the rest of Magnolia. There's one sidewalk that leads straight to the guild hall, another sidewalk that leads to the park. Whenever I feel stressed, I would take that pathway to the park. I had it perfectly memorized. I could probably walk to it in my sleep. I inhaled a breath of fresh air. I smiled and began walking towards the gate entrance. As I approached, I noticed some raven hair sticking out from behind the large tree. I opened the gate and noticed an arm with a white sleeve sticking out from behind the tree as well. I exited the courtyard and curiously peeked around the tree. To my surprise, I found a sleeping Gray-sama. He laid peacefully, his back against the tree, and his hands laying at his sides. Gray-sama looks so cute when he's sleeping. I found myself blushing slightly as I admired his face. His raven hair falling over his forehead and framing his face in random flips. Flips? Okay. He seemed so peaceful and comfortable. It did seem like a nice place to rest. I've rested there a couple times myself. But I live here. Why is Gray-sama sleeping here? Is he waiting for someone? Is he waiting for a girl? Is he having an affair with some other girl? Does Juvie have another love rival? I snapped out of my thoughts when Gray-sama shifted in his sleep. His lips parted slightly. Gray-sama has such kissable lips. I crouched down next to him, a naughty idea forming. Just one kiss couldn't hurt, right? I reached out and pushed some of his hair out of his eyes. Just a real quick peck. Nobody would have to know. It'd be Juvia's little secret. Leaned in closer to him, my heart pounding in my chest. I am going to kiss Gray-sama. He shifted again. This time his hand raising up to scratch his head. Eeg! I yelled in alarm as I scrambled backwards. I stayed frozen until until I was sure he was fast asleep again. His hand draped over his waist as he continued to sleep soundly. I released the breath I was holding, my tense body relaxing. It's not right to steal a kiss without permission. It's only wrong if Juvia gets caught. Nobody would ever know. My hands gripped my forehead frustratingly. Juvia, stop arguing with Juvia. The internal struggle of what to do was making my head hurt as the angel and the devil in my conscience fought. Juvia should do it. Juvia has always wanted to kiss Gray. But Juvia would be stealing Gray Sama's first kiss. He would never know about it. He's sleeping. But what if he wakes up? What if Juvia is caught in the act? It'd be a real quick peck. Juvia yelped and he didn't hear her and wake up. Gray Sama was a heavy sleeper. What if somebody sees? Your point? They'd tell Gray Sama. It's unforgivable. Before my conscience could retaliate, Gray Sama's face contorted into a grimace, a bead of sweat dotting his forehead. Is Gray Sama having a nightmare? I leaned forward, putting weight on my knees as I examined his troubled face. His face relaxed back into its peaceful expression. Juvia? I froze. Does he know I'm here? Is he waking up? Juvia, he mumbled a little louder. Oh no, he's angry. Juvia is watching him sleep. What to do? What to do? He relaxed again and counted to 10 before sighing relief. Gray Sama is dreaming about me? I felt the small smile tug on my lips. I looked at him lovingly. Maybe he does care. I felt my stomach bubble with excitement. I stood up. As much as I wanted to stay, Fairy Tale had to help set up the carnival today, and I was already late. Very late. Should I wake him up? He seemed to be resting peacefully, but there were bags under his eyes. He must not have gotten a good sleep last night. Nervously fiddled with a lock of my hair. Juvie doesn't want to disturb Grayson if he's tired, but Juvie doesn't want him to get punished by Urza-san for not helping with the festival. And he might get really mad at Juvia but he might get really mad at Juvia for waiting him. But he'll get even more angry if Juvie doesn't wake him, because then as soon as Urza-san sees him, he'll be punished. I huffed. Why does Juvia have to make so many hard decisions? Why does Juvia have so many hard decisions to make today? Grisama whimpered suddenly, pulling me out of my thoughts. I sat back on my knees next to him, my face filled with concern. Juvia, please don't, he mumbled, his face twisting into a grimace, his hand clenching into the grass. Leave me. I felt the slight brush creep up my face as I leaned close to his ear. Don't worry, Grace-sama. Juvia will never leave you, I whispered softly, kissing him gently on the cheek. His hands instantly unclenched and his face relaxed. In fact, now there was a slight smile playing on his lips. I smiled shyly, quite satisfied with the effect my words had on him. I stood up, making my decision. Juvia will wake him, but hide before he sees her. Then Grace-sama will think he woke naturally and can't be mad at Juvia either way. Gritting my master plan, I turned around and went back into Fairy Hills. I went to the sprinklers box. I turned the fourth row of sprinklers on, the ones closest to the tree. Turned them on and then went outside, crouching behind the bush near the front door. I smiled triumphantly. Just as Juvia planned. Gray-sama yelled in alarm as he quickly got up and ran out of the target area the sprinklers were hitting. Ah, seriously? He exclaimed, looking down his wet clothes. Couldn't help but giggle. Gray-sama muttered something about changing his clothes. He shoved his hands into his pocket. He glanced at Fairy Hills, a strange expression filling his eyes. What are you thinking right now, Gray-sama? Gray's POV. I was having a mad dream. Julia was dying. All I could do was hold her in my arms. They said true love's kiss could save her, so I kissed her, but she didn't get any better. She was still dying. Then Leon came. He kissed her, and she lived. They got married, and she forgot about me. So as I was begging her to come back to me and not leave me, I felt something soft and warm tap my cheek. The nightmare ended. I felt at peace once more. The next thing I knew, I heard something turn on, and I got soaking wet for the frickin' idiot who decided to turn on the sprinklers. I stood out of the range of the sprinklers. I'm not sure what time it is, but I know I'm late. What am I doing here, you ask? Well, I was waiting for Juvia near the bottom of the hill. I waited and waited, but she never came, so I decided to go up there. I laid up against a tree, and I guess I must have fallen asleep at some point. She must have headed to Guild already. I take one last look at Fairy Hills before walking down the hill to Fairy Tale. Juvia's POV. I quickly run out of my hiding place as soon as I saw Gray-sama turn around and leave. I'll admit I was kind of disappointed that he left, but now I get to head to the guild to see my Gray-sama. I run into Fairy Hills, turn off the sprinklers. I then leave and quickly skip down the path heading to Fairy Tale. Hopefully, if I go fast enough, I'll get to catch up with my beloved. Yeesh. Chapter 11. Juvia's POV. Unsurprisingly. Joy radiated through me as I skipped down the path to Fairy Tale. Gray, Gray. I don't know how to say that exactly. I cheered in a sing-song tone. The best kind of songs are one involving your true love. So I decided, why not make a song, oh God, consisting of the name of my beloved. It sounds like an amazing song to me. Maybe Juvia should add more lyrics to her Grey Sama song. And Juvia will think of more later, because there's the actual Grey Sama. I stopped my skipping and walked up to him nonchalantly, even though I was internally fangirling and throwing my arms around him. No, Juvia, control yourself. I took a deep breath and walked to his side. Good morning, Grays, I chirped. Juvia almost said some out of habit. His hands were in his pockets and he stared at the ground, lost in thought. Do you not hear, Juvia? Gray, I said louder. Are you all right? I think I was spacing out, not completely sure. Wait, where am I? Looked up from the sidewalk and realized I was almost at the guild. I hear a muffled voice beside me. Since when did someone get here? How long have they been talking? I guess I should listen to them now. I looked glumly to my left to see what was bothering me. What do you want? And my words caught in my throat. I saw the one and only Juvia Loxer. Juvia Loxer looking at me with concern-filled eyes. My eyes widened as I nervously coughed. Hello, Juvia, I mumbled, my heart pounding as her lively eyes bored into mine. Konnichiwa, Grey-sama, she replied, a bright smile on her face. My breath hitched. Grey-sama. She called me Grey-sama. Juvia's POV. Grey-sama okay? I asked, confused with a shocked and nervous face. Crap, Juvia said Sama. No, Juvia, bad Juvia. Yeah? He said, answering in a question. I raised an eyebrow at him, very confused with his behavior. He sighed and rubbed his neck. Sorry, I was just very tired, Grey-sama said apologetically. He gave a slight smile and reassurance. Now in my head, still kind of suspicious of Grey-sama. Gray's POV. So, want to go to the guild? I asked, looking away from her. Yeah, Juvia would like to go now, Juvia chirped in reply. She began walking ahead of me, her arms swinging joyfully at her sides. I found a smile tugging at the corners of my lips. She's too cute. Wait, Gray, get a hold of yourself. She looked back at me, a huge smile on her face fading into a frown. You coming? She asked. I looked down at my feet and realized I was just watching her walk away, too lost in my thoughts. I smirked as I began walking forward. She smiled again and continued walking to the guild. Here, humming some tune. What is she humming? I came closer behind her, trying to hear her tune better. For you I will stay, she murmured in a sing-song tone, loving you every day, even when times get rough. It won't ever be enough to convince me in giving up. Someday I hope you see how happy we could be staying together for all eternity. If only you love me. She stopped in that line, her voice losing its singing tone, and the end coming out as a barely audible mumble. Did she come up with that? Listen, I leaned in very close to her ear, a slight shiver as she felt my breath softly on her neck. What you singing? I whispered. She froze and her back stiffened. She turns around to face me, her eyes filled with horror. She flashes a nervous grin as she rambles. Nothing, just a song Juvia heard in the locker room. Nothing important. No hidden meanings or anything. Her hands flew around as she spoke. What do you mean by hidden meanings? I questioned, my eyebrow raising in confusion. Her hands clamped down around her mouth, a bead of sweat dotted her forehead. Nothing, she exclaimed, her face red in embarrassment. Jumped back at her sudden outburst. Okay, I said, recovering from my initial statement. Let's just go, she stammered as she pouted, her face still flustered and splashes of pink on her cheeks. I nodded, even though her back was already turned. I followed her to the guild, a smirk on my face. She's so cute when she's flustered. Yeah, feck. 12. Chapter 12. Juvia's POV. I sipped my glass of hot chocolate as I took in the scenery around me. The sun was low in the sky, but not quite set. There were happy families walking around enjoying themselves at the many booze and rides. I myself am sitting on a bench admiring our guild's work before joining in the festivities. After Grey-sama and I arrived at the guild, Urza-san took quick notice of us being late. Gulp. While Grey-sama was punished by a slap to the back of the head, I was simply scolded. We were quickly put to work with preparing the carnival for this evening. While I helped set up several booths and fixing a couple of water fountains, Grey-sama had to work on the other side of the festival's designated area. First I was disappointed and quite lonely, but I soon found myself enjoying the distraction-free environment as I sorted through my thoughts. After I set up a snow cone booth around 3 p.m., Mira-san came up to me with a clipboard in her hands. She asked me if I could perform a water show around 7 o'clock in the center of the carnival. Of course, I agreed and walked to the midpoint, finding a large fountain full of water. On either side of the fountain were large rectangular pools of more water. I sat on the edge of the pool and began testing and playing on my water magic as I thought of a truly spectacular display. Eventually, I had everything planned out and found a bench to sit on. Lucy Chan came by with a warm glass of hot chocolate, handed it to me before walking off to hand out the other glasses. I took my last sip of cocoa as I stood up and smiled. Sir, I saw a certain ice mage in the distance buying a snow cone at the booth I set up. Leon's POV. My darling Juvie had agreed to accompany me to the carnival, but I couldn't find her anywhere. I swear if she's with Gray, I grumbled to myself as I continued to wander around the carnival. I will admit, Fairy Tale had done a fantastic job. The carnival was bright and colorful with many varieties of rides and booths. It sure was busy, too, as if almost all of Magnolia was here, making it that much harder to find one stunning brunette. I rounded the corner and stumbled upon Gray at the snow cone booth. Of course he was. He ordered his favorite flavorless cone of shaved ice and happily began to eat it. I bet he knows where my Juvie is. Hello, Gray, I greeted in an almost unenthusiastic tone. Gray's POV. Hello, Gray. Huh? I turned my head towards the person speaking. Oh, it's him, I snarled to myself as my eyes rolled ever so slightly. What do you want? What do you want, Wait, shouldn't you be with Juvia? I asked, glancing around, looking for the joyful water mage. Well, you see, that's the problem. I don't really know where she... Hello, Leon-sama and Grace-sama. Both of our heads turned to see Juvia smiling brightly at us. Leon-sama. Well, there you are, my darling Juvia, Leon cheered, grabbing her hand and planting a gentle kiss on her knuckles. I'm looking all over for you. I started to get worried. I mentally gagged. Or maybe physically. I don't really know. Oh, Juvia is sorry, Leon-sama. She was resting for a bit and preparing for Juvia's show. I replied sweetly, slowly removing her hand from his. Juvia's POV. Now I know what you're thinking. Why do I keep saying Leon-sama when I seriously don't love him? Well, I'm kind of stuck saying it. It just comes out by accident, like a habit now. Juvia knows it's a bad habit, but some habits are really hard to break, just like saying Grace-sama all the time, even though he tells me not to. Juvia's a troubled individual. Gray's POV. What show? Leon and I asked simultaneously. We both glared at each other as Juvia let out a small giggle. Juvia will be doing a water show with her magic in the pools and fountains in the center of the carnival, she replied sweetly. She glanced over at me and grinned, making my heart skip a beat. That smile could brighten up even the gloomiest of days. Wait, Grace, stop. That smile might have been directed at Leon. I glanced over at Leon to see him staring at her lips. No, those lips belong to me. I can imagine how soft they'd be against mine. Gray, you perv. Stop imagining things. The silence became kind of awkward as Lion kept admiring Juvia's face. I could see her squirm under his gaze as she looked around uncomfortable. Well, I'll be there to see your show, Juvia. Enjoy your night with Leon, I said, trying to sound sincere, but I knew you could hear the disappointment in my voice and the spat on Leon's name. Yeah, see you later, Gray. I felt the pang in my heart as she corrected herself. I could see the confliction in her eyes. Leon let out a nervous cough as he came to Juvia's side, interrupting the feelings being exchanged through eye contact. Let's get going, Juvie. I've planned out a list of fun things for us to do, he said charmingly, hinting for me to dismiss. Don't call Juvia that, she rolled her eyes. Call Juvia by her name. She doesn't like that nickname. Or she rolled her eyes annoyed. Ooh. I smirked. Take that, Leon. Oh yeah, sorry, darling. I forgot you don't like that nickname of mine. Come up with a better one some other time. Well, shall we? He suggested, his arm hooking with hers. Found my smirk disappear into a scowl. Damn. Yes, Julia stuttered, turning around to Leon. She slipped her arm out his. She took one more glance back at me, her eyes meeting mine. Have fun, Grace-sama, she farewelled. Her voice sounding kind of sad. Was that longing I saw in her eyes? No, it couldn't be. She turned and walked off. Well, being the gentleman I am, I couldn't just stand there and watch my comrade walk off with that pervert. So like any good friend would do, I decided to follow them. Yeesh. Besides, after that weird moment with Leon staring at her lips, there's no way I'm going to let him be alone with her. If anyone's going to kiss her, it's going to be... No! I just don't want my friend to have a kiss stolen from her. Yeah, that's it. I won't let Leon steal her first kiss. That's my job. So it looks like there's chapter 13 as well, so we'll continue on. We're just going to continue until we end this story. We don't want to spend too much extra time doing this. Actually, don't know how long this episode's been, but I don't know. Time has just kind of been going everywhere today, and I don't know when I started this. Oops. Juvia's POV. Would you like to go on that ride, Bluebell? Leon-sama asked, pointing towards some large swings that spun around in circles, growing out the new nickname. Sure, Leon-sama, Juvia likes swings and make Juvia feel like she's flying. I replied with a slight giggle at my childish answer. He smiled as he glanced back at me, a slight blush on my cheeks. Leon's POV. Oh, that giggle's gonna be the death of me. Juvia's POV. Leon-sama and I have been walking around the carnival for about an hour now. We went on the carousel twice, and then Leon-sama tried winning a teddy bear for me in a dart game. Of course, he lost, became very, very flustered, causing him to storm off with me in tow. Yeesh. He bought me cotton candy to make up for the lost bear I so desired. It was a light shade of blue with a white heart around its eye. There was a slight pink ribbon tied in a bow around its neck and a raindrop-shaped white spot in its stomach. What the hell? Oh, it was the bear. Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought it was a cotton candy. I was like, what? Juvia really wanted that bear. I decided to shrug off the disappointment, though, because I realized how hard Leon-sama tried to win it for me. He really does care for Juvia, unlike some other ice mages. Juvia feels bad for using Leon-sama. Leon-sama, I said, a hint of apprehension in my voice. I was going to tell him. He had a right to know after all. Please forgive Juvia. Yes, my darling Bluebell, he cooed, glancing behind himself at me with a radiant smile. Well, you see, I stuttered frantically, not knowing how to put him down easily. His smile faltered in a concerning frown. Is everything all right? Would you like to sit down? He asked, pulling me out of the line and gesturing towards a beach. Actually, could Juvia and Leon-sama go somewhere more private to talk? I mumbled, looking down at my feet. Leon-sama seems so happy. Juvia doesn't want to hurt him. Of course. Is something bothering you? It's not gray, is it? He questioned, his eyes glaring at a bush behind him. Juvia has to tell him, although Juvia doesn't get what's wrong with the bush. Grace PV. How the hell do you even know? Good. Quality. Juvia's POV. I grabbed his hand and led him into the forest, away from peering eyes and listening ears, an unsettling itch at the back of my mind, like we had an audience. Leon's POV. She's holding my hand and leading me somewhere private, away from everyone else. I blushed crimson as several naughty thoughts flashed through my mind. Ugh. Natsu's POV. Hey, Luz, I asked between munching on my chicken leg. Yeah, Natsu, she replied, looking up from the table her head was pressed against. She seemed to be bored and tired, or maybe just upset that I didn't share any of my food with her. Is that gray over there? I mused, my eyebrow raising as I swallow a mouthful of food. She follows my gaze, a large devilish grin appearing on her face. Right you are, Natsu, she replied, smirking in Gray's direction. What's he doing, Luz? I asked, confused, staring questionably at the ice mage crouching low behind a bush, staring intently at something ahead of him. Taking the bait, Luz replied, winking at me. Oh, okay, wait, there's no fish over there, I said, frowning. You're hopeless. Luz groaned as she face-palmed, confusion filled my face. So he's not fishing? Juvia's POV. I let go of Leon-sama's hand as we entered a clearing. There was a crystal clear lake reflecting the streaks of orange, pink, and blue from sky above. I decided to sit on a tall rock admiring the sunset. Is there something you want to talk about? Leon-sama asked, sitting down next to me. Yes, but Juvia doesn't know how to put it. Juvia doesn't want to hurt Leon-sama. I rambled sadly. Juvia. I look at him and he rests a hand on my shoulder. No matter what you're about to tell me, I will never stop loving you. Nothing you do or say will change that. I swear to you that I won't be upset. I'll understand, he reassured, staring deeply into my eyes with a deadly serious expression. I sigh. Goodbye, Leon-sama's affection. Juvia can't love you, Leon-sama, I confessed, tears welling in my eyes. It's not that Juvia hates you. She's in love with another. Juvia thinks you're a really sweet and thoughtful guy, but no one can replace the love for him in Juvia's heart. I'm sorry. Already knew all that, Leon-sama chuckled. No need to cry. What? I exclaimed, surprised. Yeah, I'm not blind, darling. Anyone with eyes can see how much you love Gray, he replied nonchalantly, giving a kind of duh tone. Leon's POV. She gulped before looking back at the view. I knew there was something else she wanted to confess, and I'm pretty sure I already knew what it is. There's something else. Something else Juvia wants to tell you. She whispered, her eyes not meeting mine in shame. I leaned in close to her ear and whispered, "You're going to say that you and Lucy used me to make Gray jealous. I already knew." Her back stiffened as her eyes widened as far as they could go. "I've known since the date. You were always focused on seeing Gray's reaction to the things you were saying, including the several flirts and suggestions." Tears were now gushing down her cheeks as she faced me. A low rumble of thunder as clouds began to appear. "Oh, Leon-sama, Juvia is so sorry. Juvia didn't mean to get too carried away," she cried, rain threatening to fall. "Gotta save the carnival." Hey, I shushed her, my arm rubbing her back soothingly. "No need to cry. I'm not mad. In fact, I'm quite happy for you." "Happy for Juvia? Why?" she inquired, her eyebrows raising. Her tears had stopped and the clouds quickly dissipated, leaving me and Juvia the beautiful view of the sun setting once again. I sighed in relief, knowing there'd be no flash flood in Magnolia tonight. "You don't think it makes me happy to see my beloved happy?" I replied, glancing out at the lake, my legs swinging joyfully. "Why do you think I played along with Lucy's little game? I'm going to admit, I was sort of suspicious when I got the letter, especially since it mentioned catching up with Gray. Like, seriously? There's a reason I don't talk to him." She giggled at my response, her eyes never leaving my face as I spoke. Ugh, I love this woman. "So everything, the nicknames, flirting, touching, all that was to help with Lucy's plan?" Juvia asked, a hint of sadness in her voice. "Well, of course not. All of that was just me being me," I chuckled. "I noticed that Gray was getting quite jealous, so I put more pride in my flirts and comments." "Oh," she mumbled, looking away. "He was always scowling when I was with you," I mentioned, remembering his exact facial expression and the satisfaction I felt after getting such a reaction. "Really?" she asked, smiling slightly. "Yeah, especially when I hooked arms with you today." I laughed as I recalled the moment. "He looked like he was going to kill me." She laughed, a soft expression in her eyes, as if she was trying to imagine his reaction. "I didn't know Gray's stomach cared so much," she said, her eyes taking a sad expression. "What do you mean? He's never told you how he feels?" I asked, curious to what she meant. I thought it was obvious that Gray had a thing for Juvia, but I guess not everyone knows him as well as I. "No, Gray somehow always disregards Juvia and rejects her. Just the other day he got mad at Juvia for saying why she loves him. He didn't even bother to listen to her." She fumed, a heartbroken expression in her face. Juvia's POV. Good God. I felt sad as I remember that day. I was going to tell Gray Sama that I loved him because he had a kind of heart. But every guy has a kind heart, including Leon-sama. So why do I love him? This question has ran through my mind over and over each day. The question has always been there, but hidden by the belief that Gray Sama was an openly kind-hearted and loving person. But that doesn't describe Gray Filibuster at all, does it? He's always hiding behind an emotionless mask, cutting off his feelings from those closest to him. Yes, he has a good heart, but my feelings for him go much further than that. All the way to the very first day we met. Narrator's POV. "Why him?" Leon asked, still staring at the sunset. Juvia mumbled, her eyes pulling away from the beautiful view to look at him. He hesitantly met her gaze, her stunning blue eyes piercing his heart. His breath escaped him as he wheezed out. "Why do you love Gray?" She sighed, her eyes looking away from him. She looked back at the sunset. When Juvia and Gray-sama first met, when Juvia was still evil, Gray-sama gave something to Juvia, something that no one else has ever given her. Leon's POV. "He gave you something? What did he give you? I swear I could buy something better than his gift. No matter the cost or distance I have to go to get it, I will for you," I rambled assuringly. "You can't buy this gift," Juvia said, her face emotionless as she met my frantic eyes. "You can't buy it?" I asked, astonished. "Then what in heavens did he give you?" If Gray and Juvia didn't even know each other, and Juvia was still technically evil, then why the hell would he give her a gift? "Sunshine," she replied. "Juvia, She cut me off by pressing a finger to my lips. Juvia was the rain girl, told to be a cursed child by other kids, for the gloomy clouds have followed Juvia all her life. While others were happy to run out and play in the sunshine, to feel the joyful radiant heat against her skin as they ran to their heart's content, Juvia was met with nothing but constant clouds and rain and sadness. And everyone who ever cared about Juvia left her because of these clouds, left her because of the sadness, the gloomy, depressing days. So then Juvia becomes sad and became heartless. She didn't care what the people think because she came to the conclusion that there was no changing it. But it changed on that one fateful day when the dangerously handsome Grey Filibuster confronted Juvia on the roof of the Phantom Lord Guild. They fought and Juvia fell, accepting her death and the ending of her life of sorrow. But he had other plans. He saved her, pulled her up to safety even when she was told to destroy him. That day the clouds went away, and Juvia felt the sunshine for the first time in her 17 years of living, and Juvia has never been more grateful. That day was a wake-up call, that Juvia should live every day to the fullest, and it's a blessing to be able to live and experience the journey of life. Juvia doesn't need to be sad anymore, that she should be happy to be alive. That day, Juvia was given another chance at life, given the one thing she has desired most, to be normal and enjoy the sunshine like everyone else. And truly, that's a gift no money could buy. Ooh, roll credits. Crazed POV. And truly, that's a gift no money could buy. Juvia finished in an admiring twinkle in her eyes. I never knew I meant that much to her. That what I did meant that much to her. I set up from my hiding place, my body moving on its own. I'm not sure where I'm going exactly, but I don't care at the moment. I'll let my feet guide me. I wrapped the light blue teddy bear I won in my arms, making sure not to forget it. Why am I leaving, you ask? Because I've heard all I needed to hear. Narrator's POV. Gray began to follow the path leading out of the forest, making his way to the center of the carnival waiting for the water mage's show. He sat down, and the thought of his feet moving rhythmically with his now understanding heart. He hummed a certain Bluetooth tune as he planned out the best way to confess to a certain someone tomorrow. Ooh. And then, finally, the epilogue. Juvia's POV. Or something, I don't know. Okay. I don't know, okay. Juvia's POV. Why can't I go with you? Because Kaiju-kun asked Juvia to go with him, and he might get mad if Juvia brings more members. I explained for the third time to a frustrated Gray-sama. But still, you're going to be gone for a week. What if something happens? What if he can't protect you? What if I never get to see you? Juvia will be fine. Kaiju-kun is very strong. He's a dragon slayer. Juvia wouldn't trust anyone else more with her life. I smile reassuringly, but I see him frown. Well, other than you, of course. Okay, but he looks me in the eyes longingly as he mumbles, I'm still going to miss you. I felt my heart melt as I crashed my lips into his. He was startled at first, but then he wrapped his arms tightly around my waist and melted into the kiss, as if he never wanted to let me go. I hear an annoyed fake cough from behind me. Grace and I quickly pull away, our faces bright red. Well, now that you two are done, can we get going, Rain Woman? Gajil grumbled, an irritated scowl on his face. No, we're not done. 5 more minutes, please? Grace-sama growled at him, trying to make it sound nicer by adding please. It didn't work. You said that 5 minutes ago! Gajil-kun exclaimed angrily. I want to go now before it's too late in the day. Just hold on. Just because Levi-san didn't give you a goodbye kiss doesn't mean you need to ruin Juvia's moment with her beloved, I replied sweetly, smirking at my Levi-san comment. Kaiju-kun's face turned bright red as he stomped away, clicking, muttering, fine. I looked up at Grace. I wanted to see him smiling down at me. I love you, I whispered into his chest as we hugged tightly. I was shocked I didn't speak in third person. It just came out naturally. I love you too, he stuttered out, a slow blush creeping onto his face. Just then I heard the train whistle blow, a 5-minute warning before the train leaves. Well, Juvia should get going. Goodbye, Grace. I chirped, trying to sound happy, even though I was sad to leave him for a week. Bye, be safe, he called out to me as I got on the train next to Gajil-kun. The train started to move, and I waved at Grace-sama through the window. His arms crossed as he smiled. You guys are so gross, Gajil-kun muttered to himself, hoping I couldn't hear. But I did. Ouch, Rain Woman. Classic. Grace-sama and I have been dating for 3 months now. At my show during the carnival, he handed me a teddy bear with a note attached and walked off. I was confused at first, but then found myself squeezing life out of the teddy bear, knowing Grace-sama must have won the one I wanted for me. The note said to meet him in the park tomorrow morning. So I did. I went to the park. I found him sitting at a bench staring out at the lake. Sat down next to him. Grace-sama, you wanted to see Juvia? I asked. He sighed as he turned towards me and took my hands. Juvia, I love you, and I know now that I always have, but just wasn't sure what that warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart was. I know I know that I'm a real jerk to you sometimes, and I understand if you don't like. Juvia has and will always love you, Gray-sama, I replied, happy tears welling in my eyes as I smiled. He explained no more. He crashed his lips into mine, a passionate kiss that made my heart flutter far out of my chest. We stayed like that, lips interlocked before parting for air. We both breathed heavily, our cheeks red and lips swollen. Since it started with a priceless gift, I thought maybe like another. Gray-sama suggested, a small smirk on his lips. And what is that? I asked, my head tilting aside. He smiled. Juvia Loxer, will you be my girlfriend? Time skip 1 week. Okay. Juvia and Gajil's train arriving back in Magnolia. Still Juvia's POV. Aw, man. I exited the train happily, excited to see my guild members in Greystone. I grabbed my single small bag and slung it over my shoulder. Let's go, Gajo-kun. You don't want to keep Levy-san waiting, I called out teasingly. Damn you, rain woman, he muttered before joining me off the train. Started to hum my favorite tune. I sang. Oh, what? I sang, smiling widely as my excitement to see him became almost unbearable. Juvia, 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 I heard a male voice hum behind me. Cray, 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 I sung in response. Marry, marry me. I stopped mid-step. Did I hear that correctly? Turned around and my biggest hope came true. There he was, down on one knee, his hands held up a small open box with a sapphire ring. My hand flew up to my mouth as tears of joy rolled down my cheeks. Well, you gonna keep the poor guy waiting? Gajo-kun said, crossing his arms. I glared at him before exclaiming yes and running into Gray-sama's arms. I love you, he said, kissing me softly on the lips. I love you too. He hugged me tight, and I slipped the ring on my finger. Once again, this man is giving me a gift of love, of happiness, of endless devotion. A gift no money could buy. The end. End credits. All right. Well, that is that. That is the end of the story. There are like other things going on with this story, but it's all just like talking about the next book and whatever. So none of that is really important for me to read. So yeah, that is the end. I don't know what's gonna happen next time. I have no idea what story is gonna be read out next time, but stick around and see what it is, I guess. Something like that. I don't know. See what happens or something. Ugh. Yeah. I need a rest, I think. I need sleep. Something like that, probably. I don't know. It's 2 in the afternoon.